Global change of mood in Washington gives Ukraine a chance to rearm and better defend its skies, as Russian forces are trying to advance, and the joint military drills by South Korea, Japan, and the United States made Russians afraid. The drills were real preparation for a military conflict, and Moscow got worried if their aggressive plans in the Far East could be disrupted. Let's unpack the details and put you in focus on these hot events. This is UATV. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and socials for the latest news and unique stories. The new administration of U.S. President Donald Trump will redistribute arms supplies to allies according to a new principle. This change in rhetoric and actions follows a protracted change of mood in Washington after Donald Trump got tired of manipulations by Vladimir Putin. In the future, priority will be given to those countries that are ready to provide Ukraine with weapons, in particular Patriot air defense systems, from their stockpiles, the Wall Street Journal reports. Hear more in our report.
To facilitate arms supplies to Ukraine, following U.S. President Donald Trump's mid-July endorsement of additional military aid to Kyiv. 8 countries have already joined the initiative to purchase American weapons.
As more countries agree to supply Patriots from their arsenals to Ukraine, the Trump administration will continue to revise future delivery plans, prioritizing these allies, from a publication by the Wall Street Journal.
On July 14th, President Donald Trump and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte agreed that the U.S. would sell weapons to Ukraine through Europe, with European allies footing the bill. According to The Telegraph, Europeans could use frozen Russian assets for this purpose. Germany is already prepared to transfer 2 of its existing air defense systems to Ukraine.
President Trump has put forward an important initiative. The United States is ready to provide Ukraine with weapons funded by European partners. Germany wants to make a significant contribution to this. We need to discuss the details with our partners as soon as possible. Above all, we need clarity on how the weapon systems provided by European countries will be replaced by the United States.
Global media suggest that within the next week, the U.S. and its allies will likely finalize additional agreements on arms supplies. The Trump administration aims to secure individual agreements with each NATO member for arming Ukraine, with the process overseen by the Pentagon. This involves not only air defense systems, but also offensive and defensive weapons. Sweden and Denmark have also announced they will fund American weapons for Ukraine.
We don't have these type of systems, the Patriot systems. So, if we decide to engage in this, and we are absolutely ready to do so, it will be about money. We need to work out the details. Perhaps the Ukrainians will buy them themselves, and then we'll have to support Ukraine, or it could be a direct payment to the U.S. I think we need to sort out the details. The most important thing is that we now have America's readiness to supply this critically needed weapon. Lars Løkke Rasmussen, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Denmark.
Australia has begun supplying Ukraine with Abrams tanks. Previously blocked by the U.S. Kyiv, has already received most of the 49 M1A1 Abrams tanks of American production, which Australia transferred to Ukraine as part of a $160 million aid package to counter Russian aggression. Earlier, the delivery of Abrams was delayed due to the lack of U.S. approval.
The M1A1 Abrams tanks will make a significant contribution to Ukraine's ongoing fight against Russia's illegal and immoral invasion, from a report by Reuters.
The U.S. House of Representatives rejected an amendment that would have prohibited the use of funds for Ukraine, according to Republican Congressman Don Bacon. The Hill reports that the bill, passed by an overwhelming majority, allocates approximately $832 billion for defense programs in the 2026 fiscal year. Additionally, Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump reached an agreement on U.S. investments in Ukrainian drone production, according to Ukraine's Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko.
There is a political agreement. It concerns investments in expanding production in Ukraine. Now, the new Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal will develop this proposal with the American side. Further work will be technical. Yulia Sviridenko, Prime Minister of Ukraine.
Earlier, Ukraine's president, in an interview with the New York Post, stated that he and Donald Trump are discussing a potential mega deal under which the U.S. would purchase battle-tested Ukrainian drones, while Ukraine would acquire a certain amount of American weapons in return. Reported by Natalia Husak, Volodymyr Shtenhilov, UATV News.
Military exercises led by the US, Japan, and South Korea near the Russian border have scared the Kremlin. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has lodged a protest with the Japanese embassy in Moscow. They called the activity, which allegedly has all the signs of preparation for an armed conflict, unacceptable. The exercises took place against the backdrop of a meeting of senior military officers from the three countries in Seoul. The participants stressed that they would strengthen defense cooperation to contain North Korea. My colleagues will continue the report.
On July 11th, the United States, Japan, and South Korea conducted joint air exercises over international waters near Jeju Island. The maneuvers involved a B-52H strategic bomber, South Korean KF-16s, and Japanese F-2s. This marked the first deployment of a B-52 near the Korean peninsula in 2025. It is noted that, based on close coordination, the three countries will cooperate to jointly deter and respond to North Korean threats, continuing trilateral exercises.
The exercise came as the top military officers of the three countries convened in Seoul for a regular meeting to discuss the security situation and ways to strengthen their trilateral security cooperation. It came less than a month after South Korea. The U.S. and Japan conducted joint aerial drills on June 18th, from a report by Yonhap.
Moscow called the exercises irresponsible activity with all the signs of preparation for armed conflict, stating they are unacceptable and pose a potential threat to Russia. The Russian Foreign Ministry has already sent a protest note to Japan, promising countermeasures without specifying their nature.
I read the headline and thought it was a new piece from The Onion. It's 2025, and Russia is threatening Japan. Wake up, Russian geopoliticians. You can't handle Ukraine, and you never will. You've already lost the post-Soviet space, the South Caucasus, and Syria. Andriy Yermak, head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
The Resolute Force Pacific exercises, held in Japan, were announced in late June on the official website of the Allied Air Forces Command. Their main goal is to enhance the joint operational response capabilities of Japan and the U.S., and to improve tactical coordination between their forces. In October 2024, Russia had already protested to Japan's embassy in Moscow over planned U.S.-Japan military exercises near Russian borders. Experts are convinced that any protest from the Kremlin is a manipulation amid the growing threat Moscow poses to NATO countries. Russian aircraft have repeatedly violated NATO airspace. On July 10th, a drone identified as a Gerbera entered Lithuanian airspace and crashed near Shumskas.
For Putin, continuing the war is a modus vivendi, essentially the primary mode of existence. The problem here is that ending the war is quite problematic for Putin. He cannot stop the war with a single decision because, over several years, the war machine, the war economy, population mobilization, and propaganda, which have gained significant momentum, cannot be halted in a single day.
Japan, in its turn, highlights threats from China. The Japanese Defense Ministry's annual white paper states that Beijing is expanding its operational space and becoming increasingly assertive. The document also emphasizes North Korea's growing offensive capabilities and its strengthening security and economic alliance with Russia. According to Japan's Defense Minister Gen Nakatani, Russia has also been observed conducting joint operations with China using aircraft and ships.
The existing order of world peace is being seriously challenged, and Japan finds itself in the most severe and complex security environment of the post-war era. The global balance of power is shifting dramatically, and competition among states continues. In particular, the interstate competition between the United States and China is likely to intensify even further in future. Gen Nakatani, Minister of Defense of Japan, in the introduction to the annual Defense Ministry report from a publication by CNN.
Japan has supported Ukraine and joined Western sanctions against Russia, leading to a deterioration in Russian-Japanese relations. Among other things, this has impacted the long-standing dispute over the northern territories, specifically the islands of Etarofu, Kunashiri, Shikotan, and Habomai. This dispute complicates the signing of a peace treaty between the two countries following World War II. Reported by Victoria Smirnova, UATV News.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Drop them in the comments. Stay in focus with UATV and stay safe.